Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm James, continuing on with this Balsa USA Smoothie build. So in this video I'm going to assemble and install this Debro 8-ounce fuel tank. Now one thing I wanted to point out to you, if you remember from earlier on in the build, is I had to move this firewall back. Had to move it back about a ½ inch. I think originally it would have been about somewhere right about here or so. Had to move it back in order to accommodate the OS46 AX2. So by doing that, I actually lost some space for the fuel tank. Now this is just a common typical size for an 8-ounce fuel tank. I didn't want to use a smaller tank like a 6-ounce. I could have gone down to a 6-ounce tank, but I kind of want it to be 8 ounces to get like the flight time that I want. So in order to get this fuel tank to fit in here, what I'm going to have to do is cut an opening in this bulkhead. No big deal. It's not going to cause any problems, but I'm going to do that after I assemble the tank. All right, so let's get going. Hello everybody. Well, I'm back and I actually look different because what happened is I shot this video and then when I started looking at it, I realized I had a problem. I intended, like I said, I intended to show the assembly of the fuel tank, and what I had done is I set my camera up looking down on my bench, and when I got everything kind of finished and went back to start producing this video, the quality of that particular video looking down on the bench was really horrible and I just couldn't use it. So the video that I did kind of showing the fitting of the tank and cutting out the bulkhead and such, that came out fine, and that's what's going to be next in this video. But that's it. So that's what happened here in the video. And again, sorry about that, and hopefully you can enjoy the rest of the video. Thanks. So I have the plane back now. So the next step is to get the tank in here, and as you can see, it's going to be a little tricky. So I'm pretty much going to have to open up most of that bulkhead. I could probably maybe get it from the bottom. You can kind of slide the tank in from the bottom once I get the cut made, or from the top. We'll see how it goes. I know that I want the tank down lower I should say, kind of toward the bottom of the fuselage, because the carburetor is going to be right about down in here. All right, so let me go ahead and make a measurement and figure out how low I got to make this hole in the bulkhead back here, and we'll go from there. Okay, so a few things to think about. So obviously the bottom of the fuselage is slanting backwards. Now the tank, I don't want the tank to be in here like this. The tank's going to have to be level. So that's actually one kind of good thing about this, is that the bulkhead, when I cut this out, the bulkhead will actually hold the tank level, because it's going to be all the way forward and kind of be at the bottom, and then it'll be coming back. So that actually will be supported by the hole I make in the bulkhead, so that's good. So the tank itself is about 2 inches high, or tall I should say. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure down to the front here, which is 2 3/4. So I'm just going to measure back here 2 3/4 down, and that'll mark the lower portion of where the tank's going to be sitting. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so it's kind of hard to do this on the camera to kind of show the measuring. No big deal, but I marked out the location of the line on the bottom and the top. It's going to have to be taller than the tank, because the tank's going to be kind of have to fit in there sort of on an angle until I kind of get it in there. It's going to be tricky because I have this piece of hardwood right here, which is the assembly for the hatch. Then of course in the bottom I'm limited down there because I don't want to go too low, because I don't want the tank to be in there. The tank has to be horizontal. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Hopefully I'll be able to do it here. So let me get this out. We'll move this over here. All right, so the way that I think I'm going to do this is I'm going to get my roto tool and I'm going to sort of just drill out on both sides. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of like that sewing machine method. I'm going to just kind of poke a whole bunch of holes along the line on both of those if I can get in there. Then hopefully I can kind of router it out and kind of break it out of there. Now the other thing about it is that this tank is, as you can see, is with the doublers here, there's not like a lot of room here. So I'm going to be removing most of it along the edges also. And then I'll have to decide if I want to maybe put another piece of reinforcement. Once I take that bulkhead out, I may put a little cross brace along the bottom there to help reinforce it a little bit, because I'm taking this out, but we'll see how it goes. Well, that was kind of fun. Okay, so that one's open like that. Let me flip this over. And here we go. Okay, now I gotta do these sides. Well, I hope that was a good idea. Alright, so there's my little piece that I cut out. Now I'm going to try to get in there and kind of do some sanding around this thing and clean it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect because no one's going to see it, but I'm going to have to, I know I'm going to have to take some off these these edges here because the tank is just too wide. So let me work on this a little bit. Alright, so I grabbed my tank, and I think, let's see here, get this on camera. Alright, well that went in a lot easier than I thought it was going to go. That's cool. So go like this. Alright, so something like that. Now, I know that one thing I got to think about, oh, that's nice. Okay, one thing I have to think about is that the line for the throttle, because the engine's inverted, is going right through the bottom left down here. So I can pull this back out here. And there's a little hole right down in there. So what I think I may have to do is actually raise the tank up just a tad, just so I can get that line to sort of skirt along the bottom like that. And I mean, the tank is actually above this point right here, but then this is going to be in the way. So I'm gonna have to make an adjustment for that. So, well, that's kind of the name of the game when you're building kits, at least for me. Okay, put this back here. Alright, so what I did off camera, I decided to kind of just try to fix this real quick, is that I extended that little hole back in there, which is going to be for the throttle linkage. And I just basically made it more oblong, if you will, so that this wire will fit through here like this. This is just going to be like a test wire. So that's going to go in there like that. And now the tank itself is going to kind of flop in here like that. And of course this wire will be up in here for the throttle. And this now works pretty well. It's nice and loose. Of course I'm going to have to make some final adjustments as I continue with the build. One thing I'm going to have to do in here is, if you look at the firewall, the hole I drilled previously for the tubing to go through is pretty small, so I'll make that bigger. And then of course I'll just make some adjustments to make sure the tank is in here correctly. And probably what I'm going to do to kind of keep the tank on one side like this is I'm just going to wedge some foam against this side back in here and do things like that to get everything sort of lined up. Okay, so that's going to be about it for this video. That was kind of fun, kind of a tricky step once again. And like usual, I kind of find myself kind of modifying and doing little things to the kits to make them work out. And that's sort of the nature of the beast when you're building a kit like this. At least for me it is. And yeah, so I think I'm pretty much finished now with all the kind of major kind of build stuff. And my upcoming video on this is going to be doing the covering. I'm going to be using Monokote. And I'm going to be using the same color scheme as the kind of what's on the Balsa USA website, and or the, I guess, the ad for this plane. I like that color scheme, the blue and the orange. So that's coming up in my next video. Until then, thanks for watching. Like always appreciate it. Thanks for the comments, and we'll see you next time.